When I was in hospital with a fracture, I met a young nurse called Emily, and a few months later we were married. She was 20 years old, and I was 28. I decided to get married because I longed for a woman's affection, warmth, and love. I was lonely, I had no luck with girls, and time seemed to be running out. I felt that if I didn't take this chance, I might stay single forever. So I took the plunge, and Emily seemed like the perfect person to start a life with, especially considering her kindness and warmth during my time in the hospital. Emily and I decided to stay at her house, where only her mother, Laura, lived. It seemed like a practical solution, as it saved us from having to rent or buy a new place to live, and Laura made us feel welcome. Emily's father had passed away many years before in a car accident, and Laura, who was now my mother-in-law, was 42 years old. Despite the tragedy she had experienced, Laura had always taken care of herself, and it showed. She was attractive and retained all the charm that nature had bestowed on her. She had a gentle demeanor, yet she exuded a quiet strength that was incredibly appealing. There is something about my character that I have to admit. I have always found mature women more attractive than young girls. Mature women are attractive in a different way. They are confident, know what they want, and aren't shy about taking initiative. Laura possessed all of that and more. My wife Emily, however, appeared indifferent to our intimate life, mainly because of her fear of getting pregnant. She had told me from the beginning that she was not ready for children and had a deep fear of the responsibility that came with it. I tried to be sympathetic to this, but the lack of intimacy made me feel frustrated and detached. Life had to go on, and I reluctantly accepted the situation even though it left a void in my heart. One cold winter afternoon, I was let off work a little early. I came straight home, opened the door, took off my jacket, and heard a voice from the bathroom. I didn't expect anyone to be home, and the sound startled me for a moment. "Emily, is that you? Did you get everything I need?" It was Laura, and suddenly everything inside me froze. The casual intimacy of her voice took me by surprise. Then she came out of the bathroom, her damp hair wrapped in a towel, and in that moment I realized that she was the woman of my dreams, the one I had wanted all along. She looked so natural and beautiful standing there, and we looked at each other with wide, perplexed eyes. It was as if time had slowed down and there was a connection between us that neither of us could ignore. Laura quickly regained her composure. "Oh, son-in-law," she said, a little embarrassed, trying to fill the silence. "It was so cold today that I came home freezing and needed a warm shower. Emily's gone to the shop and she'll be back soon." She tried to laugh, but there was a tension between us that neither of us acknowledged out loud. I had to fight the growing urge to hug her. At that moment, the door opened. It was Emily, returning from an errand. I forced myself to smile and greet her, and life went on as normal. But this encounter stirred something deep inside me. Something was bound to change, and I couldn't stop thinking about Laura. Her presence became something desirable to me, and I started looking for reasons to spend more time at home, just to catch a glimpse of her or share small conversations. A week later, Laura and I were sitting on the couch watching a film on TV. It was late, and Emily had gone to bed early because she had a morning shift the next day. The room was dimly lit, and there was something cozy yet intimate about the setting. My thoughts hovered in the air as we watched the film, and at some point, giving in to instinct, I reached for her, hugged her, and then did what she wanted. Before we knew it, we were overwhelmed by a flood of joy. From that moment on, Laura and I were in love with each other. It was as if a dam had burst, and all the feelings we had been holding back came rushing out. Our relationship was built on mutual understanding, undeniable attraction, and a need that neither of us had felt fulfilled in a long time. Laura confessed that she had been lonely for years after her husband's death, and I found in her arms the solace I couldn't find with Emily. We shared stolen moments whenever we could, and it seemed to me that we were only truly alive when we were together. Emily didn't suspect anything as we acted as normal with her, but I think deep down she sensed the change. Laura and I were careful, but there were times when our gazes lingered too long or our touches seemed too familiar. Things changed dramatically when Emily started working the night shift. This gave Laura and I the freedom to be together without fear of interruption. Those nights were magical, filled with laughter, love, and passion. We cooked dinner together, danced in the living room, and talked for hours. It seemed we were truly made for each other, and I began to realize that what I had with Emily was nothing compared to what I shared with Laura. Eventually, however, Emily caught us. This led to a huge scandal, screaming, crying, and accusations. The pain in Emily's eyes was something I had not expected, and my heart broke as I watched her suffer. Laura managed to calm her daughter down by explaining that we loved each other and that no one could change anything. She spoke to Emily with a calmness and sincerity that only a mother can do. After a while, Emily understood everything, although it was clear that she was deeply hurt. She decided to leave her mother's house, and although it was painful to see her leave, at the same time it felt like a weight had been lifted off of her. I stayed with Laura, and we were finally able to be together without hiding. We loved each other, and that was all that mattered. We didn't have to hide anymore, and now we could just live and be happy. Shortly afterwards, Laura, my Galia, announced that she was pregnant. This news filled me with joy, and I realized that this baby would bind us together even more tightly. Our love seemed complete, and we looked forward to starting a family together. We remodeled the house, preparing a room for the baby, and those moments were filled with laughter and dreams of our future. The baby became a symbol of our love, and we grew even closer as we waited for it to arrive. Laura and I would often sit in the evenings discussing names for the baby and imagining what our lives would be like after the baby arrived. It was a time of hope and renewal, and despite the rocky path that brought us here, I knew I had made the right choice. Laura was everything I had ever wanted. And now, with a baby on the way, our love story seemed like it was just beginning. We had to face judgment, scandal, and heartbreak, but in the end we found each other, and it was worth it. Now we could focus on the future and build a life full of love, happiness, and family.